In today's video, I've created a list of 5 books to better help us understand how the Holocaust happened and how the systems being put place in America today resemble the earliest stages of the Holocaust, starting with the diary of Anne Frank. Written from the perspective of a Jewish teen in hiding, right now we have thousands of families that are being torn apart, being thrown into unmarked vans and being taken to undisclosed locations. And as a result, we have thousands of people who are going into hiding. A lot of people are saying, oh, you're being over dramatic. This is nothing like what was happening in Germany. But what they are looking at is 1944. They aren't looking at when Hitler went into power, which was way back in 1933. And Anne Frank did not go into hiding until 1942. 9 years later. Next up on the list, we have Night by Elie Wiesel, detailing the early stages of Nazi power, the Jewish ghettos, and eventually the concentration camps themselves. When most people think of concentration camps, they think of the incinerator. They think of burning bodies. But what they often don't think about is the fact that millions of people died not from the ovens, but from disease. Diseases caused by the horrible conditions of the concentration camps. Conditions very similar to the conditions now at Alligator Alcatraz. They are tortured not by whips and the fears of ovens, but rather they are tortured with a lack of resources, with starvation and sickness. Incinerators are not needed for a genocide. They just help to dispose of the evidence. Next on the list, we have The Book Thief, which is about a German family that hides a Jewish man in their basement. One of the most powerful scenes in the book takes place when prisoners are being moved from one concentration camp to another, and the prisoners pass through the town in which this family lives. So the father decides to give one of these prisoners a piece of bread, and as a result, both the prisoner and the father are beaten. This was done to highlight the fact that anybody could become one of these prisoners, and that by helping one of them, you are putting your own life at risk. We are seeing those same threats put into place today, where people who try to get in the way of ICE and their raids are being beaten and imprisoned. And all of this is being done to instill fear, to make it so that people are afraid to stand up, to speak out. Because for oppression to win, you don't just need people to agree with you. You also need those who disagree to remain silent. Which brings me to one final suggestion, which is not a book, but instead a poem, which is called First They Came by Martin Niemöller. Written in the aftermath of World War II, it is a reflection of Martin Niemöller's behaviors and their consequences. Because at the beginning, he was a staunch supporter of Adolf Hitler. And so when Hitler went after groups that he did not identify with, he said nothing, because these attacks did not affect him. But eventually he came to realize that Hitler was not his ally, was not his friend, that their views and desires did not align. But by the time he came to realize this, it was too late. There was nobody left to speak out for him. And in the end, even though he was a supporter of Hitler, he found himself in a concentration camp.